cow field saying moo. Moo.
Gee whiz! Another big gee whiz from me to you, or should I say moo to you?
From moo to you? Sounds like you've got cows on the brain again, Dr. Carla.
Oh, I normally do. They're one of my favorite creatures, and today's show is about cows. I'm Dr. Carla, and this is my friend Stefan.
Hi.
And this is Gee Whiz in Agriculture, where we've learned all kinds of unusual things, like how you can grow lettuce without any dirt.
And how to grow fish on a fish farm.
And how some insects use tools, a lot like we do.
And how to grow trees on a tree farm.
And how cows eat grass.
Right, and how you can... Wait a minute. We've already did a show about cows. Why are we doing another one?
Well, in that other show about cows, we learned how cows eat grass, and we also learned about all these different products that come from cows.
Like shoes, shaving cream, belts, and hamburgers.
And as a matter of fact, we came up with a really amazing list. Do you remember it? Let's take a look.
Balls, belts, buttons,
Saddles, soap, shoe polish,
matches, medicines, meats,
film, fertilizer, antifreeze.
candles, crayons, capsules,
Paint, piano keys, and pet food.
tires, textiles, and toys,
China, chewing gum, and explosives. Now, did you notice anything missing from the list?
How could anything possibly be missing? That was an incredible list. Piano keys, paint, explosives.
Well, what's the first thing you think of when you think of cows?
Milk. That's it. Milk wasn't on the list.
Exactly, milk and dairy products. I mean, just look at all. We got ice cream and yogurt and cheeses and all kinds of things, and it's so important we're doing a whole show on it. After all, the first food any mammal has is milk.
Does that mean that I'm a mammal?
Oh, that's a great question. And I bet the Gee Whiz kids have a lot of questions too.
Gee Whiz Kids! Gee Whiz Kids! Gee Whiz Kids wanna know!
Do you get milk from special kinds of cows?
Hell no, brown cow. Do you get chocolate milk from brown cows?
You get chocolate milk at the grocery store.
Do Cleopatra's really take bath in milk?
Does a cow ever run out of milk?
How do you get cheese from milk?
How about butter?
Why doesn't milk feel like soda pop? Is milk really good for you?
How does a cow eat grass?
We already did that!
If we take milk from a mother cow, how does your baby get milk? How do you get milk from a cow? Where does milk really come from?
From cows, everybody knows that.
But how does it get from the cow to my refrigerator? How does milk get from moo to you? That sounds like today's big question, Dr. Carla.
Well, actually, Stefan, there's a lot that happens between the moo and the ewe. And we make a whole lot of products from milk, just like we make a lot of products from cattle.
Like cheese, butter, and ice cream, right?
And that's just the beginning. We've learned about a lot of products from cattle, but there's a lot of products from milk too, like all these cheeses and butter and ice cream and sour cream and candy and sweet asphodophyllus and whey cheese. And then there's some other things too, like medicine. And even some cosmetics have milk products in them. And then there's glue and there's casein as well. I bet you're wondering what casein is.
I'm wondering a lot of things.
Well, casein is something that they actually use in the manufacture of cheeses. And casein's also used in the manufacture of a lot of glues and cheeses too, but glues and plastics too. And I bet you're even wearing something that has casein in it.
Wearing? What? Where?
Well, like these buttons on your shirt. They have a little casein in them.
Dr. Carla, you are so full of surprises. I never knew that I'd be wearing a milk product. But there's still plenty of questions, like how you get milk from a cow, and what is sweet acidophilus, and how does milk get from moo to you?
Well, it sounds like we better go find some experts to help us out. And I think we need to find my old pal Nick, too. Nick!
Thanks, Dr. Carla. If you want to find out where dairy products come from, you need to start at a dairy farm, like this one. This is the University of Kentucky Dairy Farm in Lexington, Kentucky. This is a dairy cow, and the milk produced here at the UK dairy farm is sold to different companies where it's processed and packaged. It's big business and a complicated process. Here today to show us how it all works is our guest, George Hershey. George Hershey is from the University of Kentucky Department of Animal Science. And he wants to go somewhere, she wants to go somewhere, and I'm not gonna let her. Hi. So what goes on here at this dairy farm?
Well, this is where the cows live. They're raised here, and the cows behind us are the cows that are actually milking.
And where are we exactly right now?
Well, we're out in the pasture. This really is, the cattle will eat this grass during the summer, but right now really is a place for them to get off the concrete and relax.
Right. Okay, about the different breeds. I see a lot of different diverse looks of cows right here. Are these different breeds?
We have two breeds at the University of Kentucky Dairy. The smaller brown cows are Jerseys, and the larger black and white cows that are out here in this pasture are Holsteins. Dairy cattle are ruminants like beef cattle, but again, they are bred to produce large quantities of milk rather than bred for their size and weight. Dairy cattle and beef cattle are similar, however, in that they are ruminants and each consumes products that we cannot consume, like grass, hay, corn silage, and they can turn those feedstuffs, which we cannot consume, into products like milk that are very nutritious for human beings. So milk really is a byproduct of grass.
So Dr. Hershey, where does milk actually come from?
Well, cows are mammals, and all mammals produce milk to nurture their young. Now, before they can produce milk, they must have an offspring. In the cow's case, in the dairy cow's case, or the beef cow's case, that offspring is called a calf. And if it happens to be a female, we call it a heifer. If it happens to be a male, we call it a bull. But they do have to have a calf before they can start producing milk. Now, dairy cows have their first calf at about 24 months of age. That sounds awfully young, but a dairy animal weighs about 100 pounds when it's born and grows at about 1.5 to 1.7 pounds per day. So the animal really is at an age that it's ready to be bred or get pregnant at about 15 months of age when it weighs about 750 pounds. The dairy animal does carry the calf for 9 months, or she stays pregnant for 9 months, just like in the human female. A few weeks before the cow does have her calf for the first time, her udder does get quite a bit larger and really becomes engorged and gets ready to produce milk.
So now do we get milk from the cow?
Not quite yet. The first milk that a cow produces after she has a calf is called colostrum, and that's not milk that really is available for human consumption. But it is very good for the calf. It is very high in antibodies, which help protect the calf against disease. So it's very important that the calf get an adequate amount of colostrum at a very young age, and that really helps protect that calf against the diseases that are in the environment.
Oh, well, how much time does a calf spend with its mother?
Well, a dairy calf spends about 2 or 3 days with its mother. That sounds like a short time, but the cow really produces too much milk for the calf, and if we left the calf with the cow, it would drink too much, and that would not be good for the calf.
So where is the calf and the cow move to? Or do they go to separate places? Where do they go?
Yes, they do. The calves go to a calf hutch, which is an individual little building. Then they're very comfortable there. They're fed milk twice a day and stay in that calf hutch for about 8 weeks until we quit feeding them milk, and that time is called the time that we wean the calf. So, but they're very happy in the calf hutch. It's a very good environment, a very healthy environment for the calf. They can see their buddies, and even though they're penned individually, they can still see their buddies, and it's good that they're penned individually so that if one of them does get sick, they cannot transmit that disease from calf to calf.
So, where does the milk on your table come from? Why, it's elementary when you have all the clues to the milk mystery. Let us begin at the beginning, which in this case would be a dairy barn full of suspicious-looking cows. As you can see, these cows are all equipped to carry large quantities of some substance. Could it be? Yes, I believe it is. It's milk. But wait, how does the milk these cows are smuggling get from here to your table? Let's case the joint and see what happens. Wait. We have some activity here. Things are shaking in the barnyard. Where are these cows going? Aha! Behind closed doors, eh? Well, we'll just see about that. What have we here? Very clever. A machine to take the milk from the cows. Odd, though. They don't seem to mind giving up their goods. Aha! The cows and the dairy producer must be in cahoots. So now the cows and the farmer have this big glass jug of milk. Whatever next? Hey, looky here. The milk, it's disappearing. There it goes. Look, they're stashing it in this big tank. And they're keeping it real cool. Almost on ice, you might say. Very clever. But it's still not on your table. How does it get from this big, cold tank to the table? You know, this is getting... Shh. Someone's coming. Who's that? Big truck. Look it. This guy's taking samples of the milk. What did he say? To check for impurities and quality? That sounds like a good idea. Hey, look. He's taking the milk from the refrigerated tank and putting it in that big tanker truck. Now we're getting somewhere. Quick, to the mystery mobile. Seems to be a lot of those tanker trucks around. This must be their hideout. Big building. Fancy equipment. This looks like big business. Say, there goes the milk from the tanker we followed. Now, if I deduce correctly, and I always do, the milk is being pumped through this manufacturing plant to prepare it for your table. Of course, it's kept cold at all times, and the plant equipment is sterile for safety. First, the milk is pasteurized to kill any bacteria that may have slipped into the storage somewhere. And then it is homogenized to make the cream and milk mix evenly instead of separating. And now, just as I suspected, doesn't that package look suspiciously like the one you pour your glass of milk from at the dinner table? Yes, of course. Once again, I have saved the day. This time, solving the incredible milk mystery. More details, you say? What am I to do with you? Well, perhaps Doctors Hershey and O'Leary can quench your insatiable thirst for knowledge. As for me, I have a thirst of my own to quench with a tall, cold glass of milk.
So, George, where does milk actually come from inside the cow's body?
Milk is produced in a very special manufacturing plant, one of Mother Nature's very special manufacturing plants called the mammary gland. And a cow actually has 4 mammary glands that are hooked together, and they are hooked together and make an udder, the anatomical structure we call an udder on the cow.
Okay, so where in the udder does the milk actually come from?
Okay, inside the udder, there are very small structures called alveoli. And alveoli really look like little grapes. And if we can, we'll use this bunch of grapes for an example. And inside the cow's mammary gland are millions of little alveoli that really look like grapes. The milk is actually produced by cells that are inside the grape-like structure. The cells line the inside of what we could think of as the grape, but in fact really is the alveoli. Then the milk is secreted into a cavity, flows down through a very small duct, that flows into a bigger duct, that flows into a bigger duct, until it gets to the bottom of the udder and to the teat, where we can attach the milking machine. Most cows are milked twice a day. Her teats are washed with warm water, and a few squirts of milk are milked out by hand. The washing and massaging of the teat sends a signal through the cow's nervous system to her brain. The brain signals the pituitary gland that it is time to release the hormone oxytocin. Oxytocin is released into the cow's bloodstream and travels through the bloodstream down to the udder. The milking machine is attached and the milk is removed by the vacuum in the milking machine.
Now that we have a truck full of milk from the moo, before it gets to you, it comes here, where it's processed. And to show us how this plant works, we have another guest, Dr. Joe O'Leary from the University of Kentucky. Dr. O'Leary, this looks like an awful lot of stuff just to put milk into cartons.
Well, it is, Nick, because we do an awful lot of things to milk to get it in that carton.
Okay, now what does pasteurized mean?
Pasteurization is a process that we apply to milk to make it safe for us to eat. Back in the early part of this century, milk was not pasteurized, and a lot of people became sick as a result of it because of the bacteria in milk. Well, a man called Pasteur found that by heating milk, he could kill these harmful bacteria. And so that is what we do to milk today. We heat it to 161 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds to make it safe for us to drink.
After pasteurization, is there any other testing you do on milk?
Well, we test milk all through production and processing, and milk is probably the most tested food we have today. We test for bacteria, for somatic cells, for protein, fat, water. And the reason we do all these is to make sure that the milk is safe and that it is the product the consumer expects.
Oh, so milk really does do a body good.
That's more than an advertising slogan, Nick. That's the truth. What's so good about milk, besides the fact that it's cold and tastes great with
Pizza, tacos, and filet of sole. Chateaubriand, prepare for two. La casserole, or maybe sandwiches of pumpernickel, garnished with a kosher pickle, or Chinese food. Yes, it's time for lunch.
Like any food, we say milk is good for us if it provides plenty of nutrients for our bodies to use. Nutrients are chemical compounds or elements needed to run the body's metabolic processes. You know, things like keeping our hearts pumping, our nerves sensing, and our lungs breathing. There are 6 kinds of nutrients: water, carbohydrates, fats, proteins, vitamins, and minerals. Your body needs a certain amount of each of these nutrients every day so you can play and work and live and grow. So which of these 6 nutrient groups does milk provide for us? Of course it contains water, which is important for acid-base balance, that's chemistry, lubrication, and tears. Milk also contains a sugar called lactose. This carbohydrate is used for energy in your body so you can run and think and laugh. Milk provides fat too. Like carbohydrates, we use fat for energy. Plus, it is a structural component of every cell in your body. That's pretty important. You've heard of Little Miss Muffet and her curds and whey, right? What is that anyway? Whey proteins and casein are the milk proteins. We use these for growth and to build muscles. Lots of foods contain protein, but milk proteins are special. They are very high quality, meaning they contain the right balance of amino acids to support human metabolism and growth. What are amino acids? Well, they're the building blocks used to make proteins. So when you drink a glass of milk, the milk proteins are digested in your stomach and small intestine. That is, they're broken down from big proteins into many individual amino acids. Then your body uses those amino acids to build whatever proteins you need. The special thing about milk proteins is they provide all the amino acids we need in the right balance. Not too much of one and not enough of another. Did you know all the vitamins A, B, C, D, E, and K are found in milk? And milk is a super source of minerals, especially calcium, phosphorus, and zinc, which make up our bones and teeth. It's true, milk does help you have a pretty smile. Next time you're thirsty, think about this. A glass of milk has 20% more energy than your favorite cola. Plus, it contains 41 times as much calcium, 14 times more magnesium, 8 times more phosphorus, 154 times as much potassium, and 39 times more zinc. Not to mention vitamin C, thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, vitamin B6, pantothenic acid, folacin, vitamin B12, vitamin A, and protein. So you see, milk contains all the nutrients our bodies need. But maybe you could have guessed that because what do all baby mammals live on? Milk, and only milk, right? So we know milk must provide all the nutrients we need to stay alive as babies. Because milk is so nutritious, it is referred to as nature's most perfect food. No wonder we say, milk, it does a body good.
Now what about milk fat and butter fat? Is that good for you too?
Well, we need a certain amount of fat, and the milk fat is what goes to make the butter fat. But then again, if we don't want to get all that fat, and some of us, when you get older, we don't need as much fat, we can remove the fat from the milk, and we can drink 2%, 1%, 0.5%, or skim milk, which has less than 0.5% fat.
What about cheese and all the different types? How is that made?
To make cheddar, it takes about 10 pounds of milk to make 1 pound of cheddar. And they start off with pasteurized milk and add bacteria to it to ferment it or make it sour. And then they add an enzyme to coagulate it, like Little Miss Muffet ate curds and whey. And when the curds form, they cut it with a knife. And then they cook it and put it in forms, press it, and then put it in a cooler to age for a period of months. And the longer they age it, the sharper the flavor and the stronger the flavor. We have about, maybe 1,000 different varieties of cheese altogether. And so we vary the process and the cultures. Some are ripened with mold. In Roquefort or blue cheese, you can see that mold in there. Of course, people don't like it because of that. But that is one instance where mold helps us to make a good food.
Wow, butter, ice cream, cheese for pizza, and it all starts with an ordinary dairy cow.
Well, these are not ordinary dairy cows, Nick. We've been breeding them for hundreds of years so that they produce milk, and so the cow actually produces more milk than any other species. And so maybe you should go back and talk to an expert your own age about how some of this happens.
You know, every time I hear the word expert, I take a trip. Okay, we have another guest. This is Sarah Eubank from Gamelia, Kentucky, and the Monroe County 4-H Movers Club, Dairy Movers Club, and Sarah's going to tell us a couple things about living on a dairy farm.
Living on a dairy farm has quite a few experiences, from waking up really early in the morning to go milk, or you could have to stay up really late at night to see if one of your cows is fixed to have a calf.
I hear you're involved in showing cows. What do you do to prepare your cow for the show?
When I get my cows ready to show them, I first have to find a cow that I think is suitable for the show, and then I have to walk her every day. Once early and once late in the afternoon so that she won't get too hot. And when I walk her, I've got to make sure that she walks with me and she stays with me. I also have to give her a bath, and I have to take clippers and give her a haircut. That is sort of hard to do, though. When I go to the fairs, I usually stay in the barn and sleep on a cot, like a little bed, and I usually stay close to the cattle.
Before we leave, Sarah's going to show us something that every dairy expert knows how to do, but we haven't seen yet today, and that's milk a cow the old-fashioned way.
Well, you can milk a cow with your first two fingers, your thumb and your finger, or you can milk it with your whole hand.
Funny. Yeah, all right. Wow, you made milk. Sarah, you just made milk. Cool. Woo, we're having fun with it. Ooh, it's hot.
You gotta squeeze, but not real hard, but then pull.
Squeeze, but not real hard, and then pull. Okay, cool. Squeeze and I got it. If Dr. Carlo would have told me where I would wind up today, I would have said, gee whiz. I just got squirted. Funny.
Wow, it looks like Nick got a real education in old-fashioned dairy farming. And by the way, if you want more information on a lot of the stuff that Sarah told us, you can contact your local 4-H club. And really, there's a lot of different things in the dairy cattle industry you might want to learn about. There's all kinds of careers and things like dairy nutrition and feeds and feeding and dairy processing and veterinary medicine and genetics and biotechnology. And do you know there's food processing? I mean, the list keeps going on. In fact, even engineers are in the dairy industry.
And we found out that milk and milk products are such an important part of our lives. The dairy business has been with us for centuries and will still be here way into the future.
But you and I aren't going to be here very much longer at all, Stefan, because we're just about out of time. So let's thank everybody who showed us how milk gets from moo to you, like Dr. George Hershey, who showed us around the dairy farm.
And thanks to Dr. Joe O'Leary for taking us through the processing plant.
And a big special thank you to Sarah Eubank.
And she taught Nick a valuable skill.
Milking a cow the old-fashioned way. The only show that could bring you all this has got to be called
Gee Whiz in Agriculture.